Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by Prizepicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey everyone, welcome into this episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. Kwani Lunis, Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn. How are y'all? He's mad.
We already starting?
Guys, it's been a long day, okay? I host a television show now. That's my excuse.
That's true. Did you take last week off?
Hold up.
We're going to just talk over that.
She took last week off.
At least, right? Gary. But Gary, at least she came back. There's certain folks who took last week off and they come back for the rest of the season. Yeah. Kwani Joel Embiid, they coming back.
That's real. That's well done.
Kwani Leonard's playing every now and then. Kwani Embiid. Exactly.
I'm not
Gary. We got 20 games. We got 20 games for the playoffs, and she's still on load management.
Now, unfortunately, we got an injury to Kwani Irving. She's out for the season.
Yeah,
so.
That's out for. No, I won't be out for the season. No, I don't want to do all that.
No, our friend Kyrie Irving out for the season. That's too bad.
Yeah, wishing him the best.
Terribly unfortunate injury. He was playing really well.
Yeah, it's been an unfortunate series.
Some of the best basketball he's played in a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
With that being said, let's talk about the Celtics because that's why most people are here. Right now, they stand at 7.5 games behind the Cavs in the Eastern Conference. We'll get into that in just a second. They have a few games, obviously a lot of games this week, and they're actually 2.5 ahead of New York when you think about the seeding for the number 2 seed. So right now, obviously, the East is very much a who knows where we'll end up situation at this point. But looking ahead, the Celtics have the Trailblazers, the Sixers, we just talked about Embiid, the Lakers, and then next week we'll get into more with the Jazz and the Thunder. But looking ahead, what do you two think that just straight off the top with the schedule, what do the Celtics need to do as they look to this next week to hopefully continue to solidify their placing in the Eastern Conference?
Big thing is stay healthy and start working some of those bench guys, I think, into more playing time so that you can play the Jaylen Browns and Jason Tatums of the world less. We already know what those guys can do. They know what they can do. They know what time it is. It's time to start getting up ready for the playoffs. But you're going to need an X factor or two off of that bench. And this is the time where you give those guys opportunities to showcase what they do. The Celtics, I think in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I think are going to continue to separate themselves from New York for that number 2 spot because Cleveland, I just think is too close to the finish line to be caught at this point for the top spot. Okay. So locking up that number 2 spot, I think, really is the priority for Boston. And again, games that we see coming up this week and early next week are games that they really should be winning. So they should be able to put a little bit more distance between themselves and the Knicks as we get closer and closer towards the playoffs.
That's good.
Yeah, I think the Celtics need to take care of business. Like, in addition to staying healthy, there's some tricky games coming up. This Portland game tomorrow was tricky. The Blazers, you look at the West.
Who's their coach?
Oh, boy. Reunited in the field.
Billups.
Yeah, we give him his props tomorrow when he comes into town. The Blazers, I think, are 15-6 in the last 21 games. They've made a playoff push. It seemed like, it was way too late. But now with Dallas getting hurt, Phoenix kind of on a free fall, the Blazers are now 4 games back from the play-in. That would be a huge step for Chauncey Billups, I think in his 3rd season now. So if you're the Blazers play good defense, Kamara is a good defender, Simons is a good scorer. Klingen's going to come make his first trip back to the Northeast since leaving UConn. So this is a very tricky game, and the Celtics probably will not be all the way healthy. We saw Jason is questionable, Jalen's questionable with a non-COVID illness. Kristaps and Jrue are both doubtful. So this could be a game where they go with a lot a lot of reserves, a lot of the bench guys, and see what they can do. But this is not a gimme game, even though they're playing a team with a losing record. Portland has turned it around, and with Dallas now with basically no healthy players, Phoenix kind of giving up on the season, that's only the Blazers have a legit shot at getting to the play-in, which would be a huge step. So this is a big game for Portland. So the Celtics got to take this seriously. The Philadelphia game is obviously the Sixers are trying to tank, which they should. We'll see, if Maxey plays. I know he was hurt the last game. They got smashed by Portland at home. And then the Lakers come in. That's going to be a big game. I think everybody will play in that. So they just need to win. Like, Sherrod's saying that the Knicks are going to fall off. The Knicks, I think, are looking and saying, hey, we got a shot to catch the Celtics, because if they catch the Celtics, they get an easier, likely first-round opponent. And the Celtics could get, if they fall to third, could get Sherrod's Pistons or the Pacers or the Bucks in the first round. You don't want that. You ain't trying to play Giannis, and you ain't trying to go wear yourself out. You're trying to go with Miami. You're trying to go with maybe a Brooklyn, Orlando, a team that's really banged up. You're trying to make life easier. So these games, as Joe Mazzulla said at practice today, it's about winning. And I do agree with that. Like, you got to hold off the Knicks. You can't just start packing it in and getting ready, because you do not want a first-round series that's going to take a chunk out of it. Remember a couple of years ago when the Celtics failed and played Atlanta, and Atlanta took them to 6 games, and we all thought that took something out of them. They should have beaten Atlanta in 5, maybe even 4. They ended up going to 6, and then Philadelphia, and then they ended up losing to Miami. So if you're the Celtics, take care of business. Rely on some of your bench players, but these are not easy games coming up. The Philadelphia, they should get. The Lakers are going to be hard. Utah, and the Thunder come in, and we all know about the Thunder.
Mm-hmm. That being said, you mentioned all the opponents that are coming up. Which one concerns you most when it comes to the Celtics matching up against them? I
say right now is the first one. It's that Portland game, because Portland's playing for something. They got size. They got athleticism, Shaedon Sharpe. They got guys, Jeremy Grant. They got guys who can play ball. And if you let them hang around, they pushed Cleveland. They should have beaten Cleveland. Cleveland didn't have Donovan Mitchell, but they had Cleveland up by 18 in the third quarter and kind of blew that game. They're still a young team. I mean, the Celtics should get it, but this is a dangerous game. You can't overlook this game. And I know it's a back-to-back. Philly comes in the next night. Worry about Philly when they get there. Take care of the Blazers. Keep the Knicks off your heels. And I said, the Lakers, I think they'll be up for that game. National TV game, big game. Luka, LeBron coming in. That's concerning too. But I'm saying the Blazers game is tricky.
It is tricky, but Gary, as you alluded to, I'm looking at that Lakers game as the one that I'm really worried about, because the Lakers went from a team that, just like a month ago, we're thinking that, man, if they can just barely get into the playoffs, they might be looking at this as a good season, to a team with Luka now. You got to seriously think about them as a team that can come out of the West now. You look at their record, they're in a 3-4-way tie there's like 2 games separating teams 2 through 5 in the West, and they're among those teams. Yeah. So if you're the Celtics, this will be your first look at that Lakers team with Luka, a team that you may potentially see down the road if you're fortunate enough to get to the finals. And that's why I think it's really important for the Celtics to really put their imprint on this game and plant some seeds of doubt in that Lakers' mind, because the Lakers are feeling good about themselves. They feel that they can beat anyone, and they have shown the ability to do just that. But if you're the Celtics, you need to clap back with that nonsense and remind them that you the champs, not them, and that Luka, as much as he has been, and I thought I'd never, ever hear myself say this, has been a benefit to them defensively, you still got guys that can absolutely make his life a little more tougher than it usually is offensively, and can take advantage of him defensively. I still think that the Celtics are going to have matchups that they can create that will take advantage of Luka's shortcomings defensively. The thing about him now, he's just putting great effort at that end of the floor, something that he did not do before. And so I'm looking at that Lakers game as the one that I'm keeping my eye on, as the one that, if I'm the Celtics, I need to get that one. I need to get that one. If for no other reason, not only to improve your record, but give your fans something to cheer about, because you've been kind of trash at the crib. Yeah. And the fans are like, damn, I know we nice, but damn, can the fam get a dub at the crib? And so
you're right.
Beating the Lakers will make a lot of people happy around here. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you look at it, Sherrod, like there's 2 games that separate 2 and 5, and now we just found out Jaren Jackson Jr. is out, I think maybe 2 weeks with a sprained ankle for Memphis. So the Lakers have a chance to. And then the other night when Denver came in, their key bench guy, Julian Strawther, remember he left the game he ended up tweaking his knee. He's out, like I think, a couple of weeks too. So now the door is open for the Lakers to grab and hold that. No one's catching Oklahoma City. But that number 2 seed is wide open, which means you get a play-in team in the first round. You're not playing Golden State because Golden State's up to 6. Okay, Golden State, they probably won't get to 5, but they're gonna give somebody some trouble in that first round, that 3rd seed, because I think they're gonna probably try to hold on, have a good chance to hold on to 6. Although, shoot, they're literally half a game ahead of 3 teams themselves. So the West is crazy, like you said, Sherrod. Like the Lakers are going to come in there with a focus, but if you're the Celtics, take care of business, play them, match up with them. They spanked you at crypto.com pretty easily the last time you matched up. So I think that'll be a great game.
Well, that being said, Jrue Holiday, he's been out the last 2 games for the Celtics with the mallet finger injury. 1, what do you make of the injury itself? But 2, what should Celtics fans, reportedly he should be ready for that game against Portland, which would be a good flag. And of course, hopefully for the Lakers game as well. But what should they expect when he does return?
I'm just hoping that he can just start building on great play. Like, he doesn't have to be great from the outset, from the jump, but you really need to start seeing him be that impactful guy that we know is a bigger part of the Celtics winning a championship than I think a lot of people give him credit for. The thing about Jrue that I love is he's a competitor. I mean, that brother competes night in, night out, and he's usually at his best in those critical, ride or die type moments. And so I need to see him get back to being healthy, get back to him doing the things that he has done throughout the course of his career, and show that he is closer to being, the old Jrue Holiday than an old Jrue Holiday, if you know what I mean.
I see what you did there. Yes.
Well, first you want to see him healthy. It looks like the injury is called mallet finger. It's done a little research because
the images aren't great.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one at home. I play one on TV.
Bill Cosby, Lord have mercy.
Anyway, moving forward, it's one of those. It's a tendon. It's on his right pinky. Okay, it's not on it's on his shooting hand, but it's on his pinky, and it's a tendon. There's a tendon that holds your fingertip from staying up and all that.
We're doctors now.
Yeah.
So basically,
now the tendon is damaged, so now it's kind of limp. Like so he has to have the pinky in a small cast. It's not like a big cast, but it's a little wrap around his pinky. He practiced on Tuesday, which is a good sign. So is he going to play with it? It's going to have to be allowed to heal. And I don't think he needs surgery. It sounds like there was 2 different types of mallet fingers. One where it was the bone and the tendon, which is apparently better. That the bone kind of separated along with the tendon, and the tendon didn't tear from the bone. I think if the tendon tore from the bone, he might need surgery. But it sounds like the bone and the tendon kind of went together, so now they just need to straighten it out and let it heal in that way, from what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep him healthy. And like you said, Sherrod, you don't want him to be an old Jrue Holiday. As much as he looks young and still looks energetic, he's in his 16th year. You want to preserve him, and you want to make sure he's ready and healthy for the postseason. So if you got to sit him out some games, you got to rely on your depth. You got to play Torrey Craig. You got to play other guys in his place. That's what you're just going to have to do because you want him healthy. But I think it's a good sign that the Celtics haven't, let's say, sent out a release and said he's out for 2-3 weeks. He's on that day-to-day thing. And I think it's a good sign. And, you want him to play in some ball games, but you also, hey, if you rest him, because remember last week in Toronto, he got rest. He sat out the game with rest, and that's probably what the approach they're going to take with him. Hey, Jrue, we know you want to play all the games, but we don't need you to play all the games. We want to keep you fresh because, as you guys know, this playoff run is going to be incredibly harder than it was last year. The first round opponent could be, we talked about Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit. It could be Miami again. It could be Orlando. It's going to be a challenge. That second round's likely going to be the Knicks. And then the third round is going to be Cleveland. We didn't see in Cleveland. So this is not going to be last year. They're going to have to be ready.
Well, Gary, I had a question that, we talk about Jrue and we talk about, really wanting to preserve him essentially, just not allow him to, go out there and get hurt. Is it time for your boy Joe to think about having him come off the bench? Kwani's shaking her head.
Because I didn't think you would. Can't believe you're asking it.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there. Is it time for him to come off the bench?
That's the question.
Who starts?
Peyton.
Me.
Peyton?
Kwani.
I don't know if they want to start.
Sam.
I think we've seen a lot of Sam lately, especially on defense. He struggled. Maybe you want to give him some minutes, but I don't think you if you do anything, I'd limit Jrue's minutes.
Right.
To 30 to 28. Don't play him 39 or if that's what you want to do, but I would definitely start him. I don't think starting Hauser is the answer. I think we've seen in the last couple games, and we could talk about that, you can see what teams are trying to do to the Celtics. They're running them off the three-point line, and they're targeting certain defenders. The Cleveland went after, and Jrue obviously did not play in that game. Cleveland went after Hauser, and Hauser's trying. It's not from a lack of effort. It's not from a lack of fortitude. It's just he's not a great defender, especially when you put him against someone like Garland. That's unfair. Or Mitchell, they're going at him. So the Celtics are going to have to figure out some ways to defend. They're going to have to figure out some ways how to score when teams are running them off the three-point line. The last two games, they've had 35, I think 37 and 35, I want to say three-point attempts. That's low for them. They average 48. So teams are running, especially second half, 13 three-pointers in the second half of both the last two games. That's minuscule for them. They average 24 and a half pretty much, and they're getting 13. So they're going to have to figure out some things. I don't think Jrue pull him off the bench is the answer. I just think limiting his minutes like you do Al, making sure he's fresh and ready to go, maybe rest him on a back-to-back. That's Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see what happens. I know they got one next week, Miami and Brooklyn. So I think limiting his minutes, don't towards the starting lineup.
Okay. Sherrod, because you asked, what do you think?
Look, let me tell you something. All right, let me tell you something. I'm a big Jrue fan. And I like him starting. But I think the longer he's out, the more you wonder how are you going about resting him. And I think one of the options you need to consider is bringing him off the bench as a much easier way to keep his minutes intact. Now, if I'm coaching the team and you ask me, am I going to have him come off the bench? Hell no, because I like you with that first group.
Why are you asking? If you coach the team,
because the question
is question though. It is a fair question.
Coach Sherrod, you just said hell no, Coach Sherrod.
That's because that's me, Gary. The question ain't about me. It's about the question and about the player.
About the question?
Gary, it's called being unselfish, something clearly you have no concept of.
The question is about the question. That's deep, Sherrod. You said the question is about the question.
Y'all are so stupid.
That's some deep stuff right
It is a fair question. If someone is prone to injury and experience and you want them for the playoffs, I understand where the question comes from.
This is what happens when you come to the party like Cal did to the ACC late. You just like, wait, what was that?
How you gonna ask a question and then your response is hell no?
Because the question ain't about me, Gary.
We produce the podcast, but we still have to ask the questions and make sure that we're creating conversation.
Talk to him.
Sherrod, ask a question, then you ask him. Hell no! Why would you ask me something stupid like that? Hell no!
I feel like we got to pull him aside and say, "Okay, listen, son. This is what we're doing. Listen, son. We got to get a 20-second timeout and pull son aside."
I can't.
My goodness.
Keep it going,
Kwani.
That is funny though.
That's like somebody boy, what I'm doing? Hell no! Don't ask me that. You crazy?
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, The
You
Celtics.
answered your own question.
They filled a roster spot. Let's talk about that. Miles Norris, he signed a 2-way contract with the Celtics. He played with Peyton in Oregon, a prospect of helping the team hopefully sooner rather than later. From first look, first glance, first read, what do you two think of him?
What you think of your West Coast boy?
Well, he's a guy who is a lot like physically like a little
Glad
thinner
you
than
established that he's a guy, but keep going.
Anyway.
Sorry, we're clowns. Sorry, he's a guy. Continue.
He's a guy.
He's a guy. Okay.
I'm gonna ask my question and then say hell no to my own question. He's a guy who
I was talking about a guy.
will shoot the three. The thing, Anton Watson, I think they had high hopes for him. And then what I was told was they just weren't impressed with his performance, with his with kind of his development during his first year, and he decided to make a change. And this guy is about the same age, 24. He's been around. He's been around the G League. He's been on some 2-ways. He hasn't played in the NBA yet, but sounds like a guy who, in the last 20 games, because now on a 2-way he can play all the games. He's not, he's never going to get to 50, so he can play a lot of minutes. Maybe he's somebody that they can go to stretch the floor to see what kind of what he brings to the table. He's a veteran guy, 4-year college guy. He went from Oregon, then played at UC Santa Barbara. I think this is one of those situations for the Celtics. They just weren't crazy about the performance of Watson. I think a lot of people looked and said, oh, he's from Gonzaga. He's going to turn into a good pro. And for whatever reason, he shot 30% from three during his season with Maine. This guy's shooting 40. So I just think it's kind of swapping Norris for Watson and just seeing what happens, and hopefully he can get some NBA run. I kind of saw something when, like, Joe was digging in deep to the bench. He used J.D. Davidson and Peterson in games, and Watson was available, and Joe didn't use Watson. And I'm like, okay, maybe they just don't trust him at this point. And remember, Watson's 24, so it's not like he's a young guy, young rookie. He should be a little bit better, probably further along than they thought. So we'll see what happens with Norris. I don't think this is a guy who's going to he's going to start, he's going to get some playoff minutes. No, let's calm down. But somebody that they can bring on and maybe make a contribution next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all of these G League players, you're looking for development. You're looking for guys that have more upside than proven body of work at this point. And, the only advice I'd have for Watson is, get that passport ready, because you're probably going to be playing in somewhere in Europe.
Well, he just got signed by it. He got claimed by the Knicks. So now he's on a 2-way with the Knicks. So, who knows? Because teams are shifting around these 2-way. I think today was a deadline to sign players to 2-way. So guys are releasing. So it's just swapping. But you're right, Sherrod. Like, it might be an international thing. He might have to go overseas before he comes back to the NBA.
Yeah, but the Norris kid, he's got upside. And that's the thing. You look at his size, you look at what he's able to do from a statistical standpoint, and you look at the team needs. They could use the Celtics. We've talked about this before. They could benefit from another wing, a guy that can maybe play some defense, loosen things up from 3-point range. Doesn't have to be a knockdown shooter like Sam Hauser, but if you can get an upgrade at that wing position defensively from your reserves and develop him over time, he becomes someone that, again, if you're the Celtics, you're going to have to find these kind of players to build your team around. If you're going to keep all these super high-priced players on your roster, you're going to have to find those undrafted players that you send to the G League that you can develop into rotational players. And I think that's the best-case scenario for this guy. Not so much to be a rotational player next year, but just over a couple of years, get to the point where you can throw him out there for 6, 7, 8 minutes and not feel as though, God, please let us just get through these 6, 7 minutes with him not taking this 2-point lead and coming back to the bench and we down by 7. You want him to be able to contribute a little bit and just give you more significant bang for your buck. So, that being said, before we go any further, let's give a shout out to our good friends at Prizepicks, which is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. One of my students came into class today and said that she was playing Prizepicks, and she showcased like her winnings, she's making bank. And I'm like, before you make your next pick, holla at your boy. And for me, it's great to see people like that because it shows that Prizepicks, again, it's a place where you can get real money for watching sports action. It's the best place to win cash while watching your favorite players and teams play. Weekly promotions out the wazoo. They can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, which is when your Prizepicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. And they're the ones that invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And if you want in, here's what you got to do. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's download the app, use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, won your game.
Off the top of the show, we mentioned Kyrie Irving, who unfortunately tore his ACL. He's done for the season. Obviously, Luka and him just not reunited. We're supposed to be this thing in Dallas. It's no longer going to be whatever the dreams that they thought were going to exist or will not exist this season, at least, unfortunately. So that being said, how does Dallas salvage this season? Do they salvage it? What would you do if you were the GM? Well, maybe the coach, because clearly the GM and everyone else is not on the same page.
This is what I would do. The only way, to me, you can salvage this season is find a way to start tanking, get in the lottery, and get Cooper Flagg. That is how you salvage this season if you're Dallas. That, to me, there is no other scenario I can envision that would make this season feel like you got something of value. And plus, I read somewhere where the ticket prices are going to go up this upcoming season.
8%, I think.
Yeah, it's like 8%.
Why?
Yeah, well, the reason is because they made those plans when they thought they had Luka.
Tank those prices too.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, that is the only scenario that the Mavericks can embark upon that would make what they are putting their fan base through right now palatable.
Mm.
Yeah, that's old school ACC terminology there.
Standard SEC.
Don't know about that. Since Cal, they just got to the party. They don't know about that, but
I'm pretty sure Cal, they kind of smart over there.
Nah, don't believe the hype. As my man Favorite Flav would say.
Anyway, I think Dallas is in a real tough position right now. Like, you made this trade of Luka to try to make the playoffs this year. You rush Anthony Davis back out. He gets hurt in his first game. So why would you play him again? They're still in 10th in the play-in. They're still in the playoffs. But like Sherrod said, like, at this point, throw the towel in on the season, punt the season, get a lottery pick, and just try to start over. No Kyrie. AD's coming off an injury. No Daniel Gafford. Derek Lively is still hurt. Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have a playoff team. You're going to lose in the play-in. So you might as well try to slip, play some of your young guys, and then see what happens from there. To me, that's just – it's unfortunate. Obviously, now Nico Harrison, the general manager, is going to get barbecued for his decision. If he isn't already, he is already, just because this is just – because if you look at the numbers, apparently Kyrie was playing 39 minutes a game, and he's not a guy to play heavy minutes. He just isn't. And he is playing 39 minutes a game since the trade of Luka, so they were running him out there. And it wasn't his fault. It was a non-contact injury, but you're exposing a guy who is about to be 33 on 39 minutes a game, because you got to put butts in the seats. You're trying to win ball games. You're trying to salvage whatever pride you have from this trade, and it ain't work. So just admit it ain't work, and then just go forward and try to get ready for next year. You're not going to win the play-in, so you're just basically you're doing this to play one extra game, and, it's just not worth it. So punt the season, admit fault, and just try to prepare for next year.
Thanks.
So let's look at the opposite end of that trade, Luka in LA. Now the number 2 in the West overall, the Lakers, won 8 of the last 10, currently number 2. Only 2 games separate them from the number 3, Denver, and the number 4, Memphis, number 5, Houston on the Western Conference. But what surprised you most about LA's good play lately since he's arrived?
What you got, Gary?
I mean, I just think he's working out well with LeBron. I think that Luka has just been exactly what they needed. A spark, a fan favorite. You know, I mean, sometimes
an LA spark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you did there.
I love what you did. And it's Women's History Month. Look at you.
Kwani gonna pull a muscle.
He's so sick of me. I love it's just sorry.
She's gonna pull a muscle, patting himself on the back for that one. But keep going.
It was. He said, "Look at his face; is so disgusted. Not even disappointed, just disgusted."
Okay. Yeah, LA Sparks. Yeah, yeah. There you go. There you go, Kwani. You're looking at a team that's now rejuvenated. Mm-hmm. They've been sparked, and with the guys, everybody thought, Luka and LeBron, they probably won't be able to play together. Right. They need a big, another like they're now. I'm not saying that they're going to win go to the finals, but they're a formidable opponent, and they get completely healthy and everybody back, and they get Austin Reeves. I know is kind of banged up. Vanderbilt's playing well. Gabe Vincent. They got guys. They got bodies. Now, if they can play a certain style and play good defense, yeah, they can make it to the conference finals. I don't think they'll beat Oklahoma City, but I think the sky's the limit for this team, especially moving forward, because now you have hope. You have a point guard who is obviously tremendous and now plays well with LeBron. Knows him. They're gonna get some more chemistry in the summer. So the Lakers are in a good spot.
Yeah. And they're the thing that I think is overlooked in their success is their defense. This is a team that has been arguably the best team defensively since the trade. And it's crazy because that was literally the reasoning behind Dallas's decision in part to part ways with Luka, because he wasn't a defender. He wasn't a guy that was in great shape. He wasn't a guy that was making those type of sacrifices you need to play defensively. And lo and behold, you put him in La La Land, and all of a sudden, dude think he's like, Marcus Smart or someone who can lock people up defensively. And to be candid, remember when they were in the finals and Luka had the one game, I think it was the one game that Dallas won, where his defense was like solid. He's playing at that level only a little bit better defensively. The games I've seen him play, his lateral quickness, which I didn't think he had any as a defender, is very apparent. He's using his body from a physicality standpoint to get into guys, make guys not get comfortable offensively. He's doing the kind of things that if you're Dallas, you're thinking like, damn, if you would have did that here, we wouldn't have traded you, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's sometimes it takes a new change of scenery to get the best out of some players, no matter how talented they are. And definitely for Luka, going to LA has been the best thing for him, not only in terms of wins and losses, but I think in terms of unlocking all the talent and potential he has as a difference-making player in this league.
So now I ask the controversial question on a Celtics-centric podcast. Does that mean LA is good enough to win a title?
No. They still have too many holes in their roster. I still think that they've got a lot of good, solid players. But when you start looking at in the East, and you start looking at Boston, you start looking at Cleveland, I don't think the Lakers could beat either one of them in the best of seven. I just don't. I think those two teams specifically have all of the areas of strength that I think are question marks at best with the Lakers. And so, yeah, Luka's going to do some crazy things. LeBron's going to do his thing, but they would not beat the Celtics or the Cavaliers in the best of seven.
No. I mean, I think they got talent and they've got potential. They need to get another young, active big man. They can make a trade in the offseason for one. But they're one difference-making player away from being championship contender. One guy like that, one all-star caliber player, because they got Luka, LeBron, and a bunch of compliments, right? They're a two-headed team. They're new addition, right? They're Ralph and Bobby, and the rest are Ronnie.
Ronnie's nice, yo. Don't sleep on Ronnie.
Ronnie do the background. Ronnie did the move. But
Ronnie still can move right now at 50, whatever he is.
He's moving better than Bobby now.
They got Ralph and Bobby, but there's Ricky, not like Ricky too,
Bobby,
and Mike and Ronnie. That's
just
the rest.
Imagine if Michael Jackson had him, Jermaine, and nothing but Tito's. That's kind of like.
Don't do that with Tito. Tito passed away. Tito, I love Tito. Don't do that with Tito. Don't say a bunch of Titos. Don't do that. Tito was an essential member of the group. I mean,
I think he meant a bunch of Tito's in the background, right? Like Tito multiplied.
Yes.
He's saying duplicate the talent. That's what I interpreted it as, right?
Not trying to diss on him, but just if that's all you had in your background.
All right. Yeah. We'll talk about man Tito.
And he's like, wait a minute.
You got your feelings.
You go crossing the line there, my man Tito Jackson. I love Tito Jackson.
Don't you be talking about my Tito.
Yeah, that's my guy. God bless him.
Yeah. Well, we just got so sentimental. I forgot where I was.
Keep it moving.
Kwani,
actually.
Were you an Angie Stone fan? I know we lost.
Gary got us all sentimental.
Right. I hate when this happens.
Right, that car crash, yeah.
Yes. But when someone passes away and then you finally know the name of the person behind a song you enjoyed. So that's where I was with Angie Stone, unfortunately. I didn't know her name per se, but I knew her music. Gosh. Were you a fan?
I respected her career. I was, she did some good stuff. I think she was kind of one of those, you really had to be in the R&B to know her and know her impact.
Yeah.
But I think she was a person who stood, was around a lot of years and had a solid career. And those artists need to be appreciated because they have really, a lot of artists, not everybody's this, Whitney and the super duper stars. There's those with great voices that for whatever reason just don't have that mainstream superstar success. And I think Angie goes in that category. God bless her. And it was sad. I heard about it. And, I think she did a lot of good work. And, and I said, we're losing a lot of people. Roberta Flack, I don't know. That's before a lot of people's time. But what a wonderful, the song Killing Me Softly, a song that was remade by the Fugees.
And
things like that. But we're losing a lot of folks, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, with Angie Stone, a lot of people don't realize just how much of a pioneer she was. I mean, she was part of the first all-female group that was kind of like a rap group when she signed with the Sugar Hill Gang under their label. And she, again, people know about her solo hits later, but she really blazed the trail for a lot of female artists who came after her, and never, I think, really got the kind of respect that someone who was among the first on the front lines of change for women artists in hip hop and rap and R&B should get. And so it's, and then when you look at some of the details surrounding the crash, she was the only one in the vehicle that died. That's just, I mean, that's you don't wish death on anyone, but damn, it hits even harder when she was the only one.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. We'll end on a lighter note because I did want to mention one other thing. Jason Tatum. It's a commercial, Amika commercial. If you haven't checked it out just yet, just Google Amika, Jason Tatum. But the cute part was, I think, I'm assuming it's safe to assume that he finally announced that he has a second child via the commercial. Because at the end, you see 3 pairs of Tatums, a bigger pair, a medium pair, which would be for Deuce, and then his baby that we knew existed, but, it was never reported. So I feel like we should acknowledge and finally formally congratulate him. And
I thought we already did that, but maybe
I know,
we didn't.
but I feel like this fuels us being able to congratulate them now.
And happy birthday to him. He's 27.
Exactly.
27.
Or 19, depending on how you do your math.
Right, 19 plus 8. But, he celebrated his 27th birthday on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. He's been around Boston since he was 19 years old, and we're seeing him grow into obviously a great player, superstar, family man. And it's been a fun development to watch. There's really nothing negative you can say about Jason Tatum. I know people have taken a lot of shots at Jason over the years, and whether he's a superstar or he's not quite a mega star or whatever. And I know he struggled in the finals in 22 and all that, but the dude's been a stand-up guy with all of us and lived, done everything he's supposed to have done and won a championship and is headed for obviously being retired, being one of the all-time great Celtics. And shoot, he's still got 10 plus years left if everything goes well for him.
Yeah. And it's social media thing. Yeah, Josue and I actually last week we were talking about that, just the Tatum narrative and how he's literally everything that you tell yourself that you want an NBA player to be, and yet you don't see the league pushing him the way they push some of the other players in this league. Yeah. I know way more about Anthony Edwards than I probably should for a guy who's never been to the NBA Finals. I've heard way more, and I love Ant-Man, don't get me wrong, but Tatum has earned the right to be that face of the league. I mean, he has done things the way you're told they're supposed to do. I need numbers, check. I need you to win games, check. I need you to win a championship, check. I need you to do it in a big market, check. Well, I don't know what else he can do at this point to be that guy that they build around.
That's why I mentioned social media. I really do think it, unfortunately, because we are in that era of, I honestly can't pinpoint it though, because he has the accolades, he has the success, he has the resume that speaks to it. But you hop on Twitter or X or Instagram and it's like they're calling him corny or like he has no aura, or they're just saying I feel like people just pull things out of their ass and just want a reason to hate him. And maybe it's just as simple as him being on the Celtics and people hating the franchise, honestly, for no reason. But I don't understand it. I think that
there's a lot of, unfortunately, guys, I think there's a lot of just social media has allowed a lot of people to say whatever they want about the people that they should admire. And growing up, and I'm sure it was like that even with you, Kwani, obviously you're younger than us, but you didn't, like, I remember that football camp where this dude was literally trying to trash Cam Newton, who won an MVP, who played in the NFL for 12, 13 years. Like, did he win 3 Super Bowls? No, but like won a top quarterback, like won an MVP, like was at the top of his game, had a good career, nothing to be, and the guy was just literally like, this 14-year-old was trashing his career. And it was just like, who taught you that? Who taught?
Who raised you?
Who taught you? Didn't come out the womb thinking like that. Someone taught you that.
Who taught you to like drag somebody who's been at the highest level like that, and then go home and and you're like your chances of getting there are 1 in a million, and you feel proud of yourself. And I just think social media allows people to just say things to people. There's no repercussions or accountability for it. And everybody wants to be, everybody's, if you're corny and you're a dad, you're a dad, you're corny. If you're this, you're it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that this is the climate for which a lot of these guys have to navigate and ignore. I remember like Jason Tatum, I think on Twitter, and then he might have asked for this, but it was like, hey, okay, folks, I'm ready to take some questions. And somebody's like, why was you so much trash in the finals? It was like why? Like, damn, he's trying to reach out to the fans, take some questions, do something lighthearted. And then the first question is like, I'm just going to like disrespect you. And that makes me feel better about like, it's just sad. Like and then we wonder why these guys don't want to talk to us, or these guys don't want to open up, or they want to open up their own vehicle and do their own thing. Like Kyrie spoke on IG Live about his knee injury. It's sort of like we get all dragged into the criticism thing. Where a lot of times it's just general fans and people are just truly haters. It's just sad.
Yeah, I think the three of us too, we have the privilege of like we've watched. Never mind. I always say like I feel like an old head. I know I'm not that old, but like I watched him get drafted and have watched his progression with the Celtics. Same with Jaylen Brown, and I think obviously us having kind of a front seat to it, we have a different perspective because we saw the quiet Jason Tatum when he got drafted and was very reserved at what he said, and he talked to media. He's always been really good with media, but the confidence has grown over the last few years. And now he's like more confident in who he is, because I think, unfortunately, he grew up in this social media era where you understand like everything you say has a repercussion. Whether you say the sky is blue and it is blue, someone on Instagram is going to be like, actually, the sky is turquoise, and they have no basis for it. And yet they'll argue until the end of time just because they feel as though they have that liberty to do so. So that's the unfortunate part, I think, with the two of them and all the younger players that are getting drafted now, of just I think they hopefully understand, like, you were in an era where MJ could go out and party. He can have, do whatever he wanted, because you don't have like people all up in your face as much as you do now, because they really do live in that glass house of like, we can see everything. Even if you're just on social media, people feel as though they have access to you, when the reality is they don't, but they use that as fuel so that they can feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to call him trash because he might see this tweet. And it's like, where are the stats to back up your claim of him being trash?
Yeah.
Facts.
That's what gets me mad. But anyway, that's still on a higher note. That's all I had. Anything else from you two? Any front projects?
We're good.
And hard.
We talked about Jeff Twist, the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, we did that last.
Okay, yes. I just want to make
Good
sure.
Call, shout out to him as well.
Give Twist his due.
His flowers.
For
yeah,
sure.
Give the legends their flowers, for real.
While they're still here, please,
Exactly.
don't, please respect your elders, ask them questions, and give them the love and respect that they deserve. It's a reason why they've been here so long.
Yeah, I got to get it better with that with Gary. He's one of my elders, so I got to respect him more. So you're right, Gary. I got to be better about that.
Thanks, Sherrod.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If it's on your favorite podcasting app, give us a little click so you can see when the new episodes come out. Send an episode to a friend as well if you haven't done so already. That being said, thank you so much for supporting and listening. Until we're back next week, this is the Big Three podcast. Thank you.
I respect you, Gary. I do. Some days. Not today, but some days.